to say, I'm sorry, oops, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. So when that happens, it makes it hard for me to take that seriously. So I don't really need that, right? I know that people apologize when they are interpreting a situation a certain way according to how they're feeling. Hey, babe. And so if they're feeling a particular way, they may be apologizing to me not based upon how I'm feeling. They're trying to relieve their own inner discomfort. So again, that apology is not really for me, I feel, in that moment. The apology is more to relieve their inner dynamic. You know what I'm saying? So again, I'm sorry, sometimes it's perfunctory, sometimes it's autopilot. I don't derive a deep meaning from that. And then sometimes, a lot of times, what people are apologizing for is really a byproduct of them trying to relieve their inner discomfort. So I don't saying I'm not going to reject an apology. I'm not saying that. But it's not as meaningful as changed behavior, change, right? So when a person says, "Oh, I see what you're saying, and I'm not going to do that again," and then they don't do it again, that's infinitely more meaningful to me than an apology. I see your point. I see where you're coming from with that, and I can understand it. I see your point of view, and that makes sense to me. That's infinitely more meaningful, more touching than an apology. An apology that sounds like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you such and such," that's about the person. But when they say, "I see how that affected you, and that matters to me, your experience matters," that's more important to me than an apology. More meaningful, more touching, more soul connecting. And so that's why I say, like, I don't walk around expecting people to apologize. I don't demand it, and I don't wait for it, right? So what do y'all think? Have y'all experienced that before? Like, do you see that point? For me, being understood is a love language. It's a whole love language, right? And when a person shows, not only do they hear what I'm saying, but what I'm saying means something, and they see it from my point of view, not theirs, that's an apology to me. When they give an affirmation of, yeah, the string alchemist, you say, yeah. When they give an affirmation of your intent, that's like an apology. I know that you were experiencing X, Y, and Z, and I reacted by A, B, and C, but now I see your intent wasn't that. That's an apology to me. That's more connective to me. What do y'all think? Talk to me about it. You ever received an empty apology, a frustrated apology, an apology because somebody was just so done with the situation? "I'm sorry." Did that ever even touch you? Did you feel like they were sorry? Like it was just words at that point, because the energy behind it is really, I am more sorry about what I'm experiencing than what you experienced. Hey T, how you doing? Can y'all see that? If you just popped on, we're talking about apologies, and I was explaining. Well, not much, because I just popped on. Not much. I'm gonna reiterate. So I was asking question number one: do you like apologies? Do you want people to apologize? Like, and then what form? Like, "I'm sorry. Oops, I didn't mean to do that." Now, I will apologize if I hurt someone physically, right? Like if I step on their foot, I would say, "Oh, I'm sorry." If I was combing the kids' hair this morning, washing it, and I hit a tangle and I could feel them tense up, "Oh, babe, I'm sorry." I will say it like that. But I'm talking about in dynamics where there was some hurtful thing done or perceived or said or something like that. Do y'all want apologies? And so one of the things I was saying was that people apologize for different reasons. And y'all know, I'm always thinking deeply into it, right? So I've had people over time in my life apologize and keep doing the same thing over and over again, right? And whether or not they intended to do it over and over again or they tried, it's a moot point. I don't need the apology, right? That's what I'm saying. So the best way to offer an apologetic or reconciliatory energy is to see my point of view, not just hear it and intellectualize it, right? But care about it deeply and want to connect to it. To me, that has more of the energy of reconciliation than an apology. I'm sorry. Sometimes people apologize, I was saying, to relieve their own inner pain. They are feeling guilty, they are feeling shame or something like that, and they want forgiveness. And so they apologize. So in that situation, it's about what they want. They want forgiveness. They want to be restored. They want you to understand that they didn't mean it like that. That's for them. So the apology is for them. So when I receive the apology, what I'm doing is helping them feel better. But how did you help me feel better? The best apology is change. Exactly. Change behavior, right? Right? Because when you're apologizing to relieve yourself, then that's not deeply meaningful for me in the resolution of it. Now, it does matter, right? But if we're talking about apology coming forward to me, what's the best way to apologize? To say, I see your point of view, right? I get it. And I can see how you saw it that way. And not just be saying the words, but actually be in the deep meaning of it. Like, oh, okay, I see how you receive that information. And that makes sense to me. I will settle down. However, combating and trying to prove or trying to come against some kind of defense or trying to get the person to see my point of view, at that point, an apology is not going to work. Because the point of the apology, right, is connective. It's an attempt to reconnect. But if you're apologizing because of what's going on inside of you, you are connecting to yourself still. And empathy is not coming forward, even though the person may be saying words that sound like empathizing. Does that make sense? You're still in your own experience, interpreting it your own way, having your own feelings, and wanting something. And using the apology to extract it. And I don't think it's conscious in people. I think this is unconscious behavior. They don't know that they're doing it. So sometimes some people are practicing emotional manipulation. That does happen, right? But most of the time, the reason the apology is not working and the person is not shifting after the apology is because some deeper level has not been touched yet. It reminds me of situations where people bring things up from the past and you be like, I apologize. You keep bringing it up. They keep bringing it up because there's a level there that still has not been connected. There's a space there that still needs to be resolved. That's why people bring things up over and over again. There's not resolution. So you think because you apologize that the thing should be gone. No, but the sequence of events that happened inside the person and outside the person, based upon what was said or done, now there's this domino effect. Can y'all see that? And just because you apologize, the domino effect is still going on. And if you can't connect deeply to the moment, then the domino effect is continuing. Can y'all see that? So when you are offering apologies, consider what the person needs, not your own inner experience. What can make this better, right? I know that X, Y, and Z affected you deeply. I could see it. I can hear it. And I know that was not beneficial or good for your well-being. I can see that. I see how it affected you. I see the things, I see the outcome, I see all of this stuff. I see it, and that's not what I wanted to do, but I do see the effect. Sometimes people are denying the effect and they're focusing on the apology, right? So it's like, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do that. Didn't mean to do that. That's fine. But now this person has this whole environment inside to cater to as a result of what was said or done, right? So reconciliation is even a separate process from the apology. Can you see that? Anytime some emotional pain happens, I'm giving you the depth of this so you can think more deeply. I'm giving you the depth of this so you can move more clearly through conflict, right? Every hurtful thing that happens shifts something on the inside, okay? It may shift the way a person sees you. It may shift the way a person sees themselves. It may shift the way a person sees the situation. And as a result, it may shift the way they move with you. It may shift the way they connect with you. It may shift how they feel about you. You got to understand, just because you apologized doesn't mean that the conflict is over. And in my life, I've had people go, I apologize. Why you just can't get over it? Why that just isn't enough? Have you ever had that? Or a person saying, that happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and you're still on it. You won't let things go. Because there are depths to this. It wasn't just the situation that happened. You see, your apology usually is for the situation that happened. But there's a depth inside. And a lot of times, either people don't know how to deal with that depth because they don't go that far within themselves, or it's so painful to deal with your depth that they can't do it. But it is there, and it's part of the successful resolution of the conflict. And we got to see that. And the proof is in the pudding. Look at situations in your world, in your experiences where there was deep pain. Now, for some trivial thing, then you may not need all of this. But things that affect the way people see, think, act, move, those are depths that you got to touch, and the apology itself is most likely not going to do that. I'm trying to help you think more deeply about relational dynamics. In the past, since I've been working on myself, I'm more mindful. Yeah, and nobody wants to hear that something they said may have been damaging to another person. That's not a good feeling, right? But when you realize that the action or the thing was damaging, it's time for you to come out of your own shoes and step into their shoes, not stay in your shoes. Oh, I feel so bad that happened. Oh, I feel so bad. I didn't know. I feel so bad. You hear those words? I feel so bad. I feel ashamed. I feel sorry. I feel guilty. At what point do you step into the other person's shoes so you can actually address the rest of the things that took place? When can you do that? If you're standing in your own shoes. It takes some bravery. It takes some emotional maturity to see how the thing that you said, did, or didn't do affected the person on the inside, and practice some aftercare. You need aftercare. Hey, Paper Route Tony, how you doing? You need aftercare. The apology is not enough a lot of times when the thing has shifted. Let me tell you something. You better care about how a person shifts inside of emotional pain concerning you. You better care about that, because your relationship depends on the favorable sight, the favorable image in their head. You got to care about that. You got to care about how this person is coming to see you as your patterns continue. You got to care about it. So maybe you can't shift the patterns right away because they may take some time and you are still working. Instead of asking a person for patience, because that's still trying to extract and you still haven't practiced any aftercare, You still haven't seen into the depths of their soul. You're in the depths of your own pain, wanting them to help you when you actually can help them while you're healing, while you're coming out of the pattern. I'm trying to help somebody think more deeply here. You may have some patterns that you are working through, some behaviors that you are working on not doing, being, or whatever. That's fine. But understand that behavior shifts a person on different levels. And if I were in a relationship, I would want to know, how did that shift you? What did that change for you? How did that affect your energy? I know I didn't mean that, and I'll talk about my part later, right? But what happened when you heard that? What did you experience when I said that? These are the communication subtleties that get missed when you're trying to resolve conflict. So what happens? When you don't touch your relationship on that deep level, you stay on a superficial level. The more the same thing keeps happening, hey Black Comedic, the more the same thing keeps happening, the more the person shifts. Now you think because you're working and you're doing your best that they should just be okay with that. And they can be okay with it. But the question is, are you touching them where they need to be touched so that they lock into this? Are you evoking patience? Are you evoking kindness? Or are you demanding, begging, and crying about it because of how you feel inside? That is not relating to the person. That's relating to you and still asking them to relate to you. When do you actually step into their shoes in a deep way? That's the question. We're talking about apology if you just popped in. We're talking about apology. The reasons apologies don't go far, especially when you're talking about repeat behavior. Then after a while, you don't see that the person is separating more and more and more from you. So by the time they've hit their threshold, they're ready to get away from you. And you're like, what? I'm working, I'm trying, I'm doing my best. You got to understand, right? That it is said that every action has a consequence. Every reaction has a consequence. And if you understand this deeply, then the way you attend to conflict will change. And the outcomes will be less intense a lot of times. Not all the times, but a lot of times. Most people are not so hardened that they can't be touched. It's just that your apology is not giving what it needs to give. Especially if you're asking for more from a person who is already saying, this is hurtful to me. A thing that people do commonly is ask for patience. Please be patient with me. I'm working. What you're saying is, I know I be doing this hurtful thing, and I know it sets off a chain of events inside of you, but I want you to sustain that chain of events, the pain that it caused, because I want you to think well of me and know that I really am trying. The alternative is, you know what? I know I keep doing that. And I know when I do that, that's super hurtful. I want to understand more about what it does inside of you. And I want to understand more about how I can help you as I'm helping myself. You see? That's different than asking for, just be patient with me. You're not patient. You're not patient. That's different. Now, I'm going to stop right there and see if you can see the difference in that. Can you feel the difference in it? One feels very mature, very mindful. One sounds like the person is still in their own shoes, not connecting to you, and you may not get the reconciliation that you desire. Do y'all see that? I'm going to wait. And thank y'all for tapping the screen. Y'all have really come up with that. Thank you. So before you get frustrated because you're trying, you're healing, you're growing, and the person is not being patient and the person is not understanding, exercise proper self-care, right? By acknowledging, and also practice proper aftercare with the person. Who doesn't want that response? Hey, listen, hear me out. I could see the pain in your eyes. Now, I'm plugging into you now. I'm not saying, I'm sorry I hurt you. I didn't mean to do that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to help somebody be a little more mature, a little more mindful. So I see the hurt in your eyes. I see the tears, right? Not, I don't want to make you cry. Not that. My children do that, right? When you look at children, they comfort you from a place inside of themselves. I see the tears. I see the hurt in your eyes. I hear it in your voice. And I can tell this is really painful, right? And that's not my intention. And we could talk about that a little later. But right now, I would like to just kind of get into your experience. Would you allow me? Can I see into your mind for a moment? When you heard me say that, what happened on the inside? When you saw me do that, what did you begin to think? What did you begin to feel? How did that shift you? How did that shift your emotional terrain? How were you feeling before that? And what changed after you heard that? How did you deal with it? How did you make sense of it? Have you? How's the pain right now? Is it still as intense when it first happened, or has it let up any? I'm trying to teach someone how to offer a connection much deeper than I said, I'm sorry, what you want me to do? If a person keeps bringing up a thing, or they're still harping on a thing, or they're still talking about the thing, it's not resolved. That's why. And your apology is not a resolve. It may be the first step to a resolve. Hey, I'm acknowledging that I did something that created some hurtful consequences. That's what your apology is saying. Now we got to deal with the consequences. What were they? Now, that takes an emotionally mature person, one who is very grounded. Because if your ego is very sensitive and you can't stand someone saying a negative thing about you, then you're not going to be able to hear that well. If your ego is very sensitive and someone saying that X, Y, and Z hurt, and them expressing it fully, you're going to have a hard time with this. So where can you begin, right? You can begin by realizing that, number one, you are human. Number two, you need some self-work, right? So that your identity and your behavior are not merged. A lot of people have merged identity and behavior. What that means is if they do something and someone else says it hurt them, then they feel like a bad person. If they say something and a person receives it a certain way, then they feel like they did something wrong. Right? And they move in this energy of I want to call it subservience. I'm sorry. It's kind of like they cower inside, right? They cower inside because someone else is angry or someone else is hurting. And they want to stop this cowering feeling because it's disempowering. When you cower, I didn't mean, I'm sorry, it begins to revert you into a power distance. We call that an inner child experience. Mom is mad. Dad is mad. I don't know what to do. I need to fix it. I'm sorry. Because when you are in your child relationship with your parents, who is sitting there going, Mom, I can see you're very mad. I can see that in your eyes. And I want to know what I did. How did that affect you? I can tell it affected your self-image and such. And I want to know, Mom, who's doing that? That's not what you're doing, is it? Is it? No. You want to fix it. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I swear I won't do it again. Because the emphasis right there is on right behavior, saying the right thing, doing the right thing, being good, not making people feel bad or mad. That's where the emphasis is. And a lot of people are in their relationships like that, recreating the situation of the parental experience. Can you see that? You actually recreate your parental experience inside your relationship, and it prevents you from resolving conflict. So how can we come out of that? You have to work on separating behavior and identity. You said something and someone else is hurt. That doesn't make you a bad person. You said something and they received it a certain way. That doesn't mean you said the wrong thing. You might have said the wrong thing for them. Someone else might have thought the thing was okay. What does it mean? It means that I have an energetic dynamic that is not resulting in closeness, and I want closeness. And so, how do I do that? Number one, you stop internalizing it. You can own some. Do you know you can own something without feeling bad? But you know, this comes from this idea that you're not sorry because you don't look like you're feeling bad comes from childhood. Because your parents wanted to see remorse. Because to them, remorse was a sign that the consequence worked. So you have learned to see the world like that. Look at them. They're not even sorry. They laughing. They're this. They're not even that. You're focusing on the lack of remorse or the presence of remorse. Conversely, you may think remorseful people are really sorry. Because someone cries and they say, I'm so sorry, I really am trying. You may feel like, well, they really are trying. Let me show some grace. Meanwhile, they're not changing. Meanwhile, you are still incurring emotional damage and trauma. You see how this works? Can you see how it works? All of this has to do with inner child work and the separation of the identity from behavior. And you need to practice this in everyday life. A person may be doing something, but you stop judging them. A person may be saying something, but you stop judging them. They're not a bad person. You don't need to villainize them. They're a person with an opinion, period. That's it. And then you treat yourself that way. I have an opinion. That opinion is not good, bad, right, wrong. It's my opinion. It may not be based in truth, but it is my opinion. And I can shift it if I know whether or not it's based in truth. The personal work is understanding that when you want healthy relationships, when you want functional relationships, you're going to have to be able to be present while a person is giving you their experience that they're having with you. You couldn't bear the experience of your parents doing that because your parents were maybe berating you. Maybe your parents were just really lighting into that ass and you just like, I'm sorry, make it stop, it's too intense. This is not what we need to bring into our relationship. You can't reconcile problems very well if you can't hear another person's experience about you without creating some kind of bad thing. They say, I didn't like when you did X, Y, and Z. You may interpret it to say, what's an interpretation? You may interpret it to say, what's an interpretation that you commonly give that isn't what the person said? The person may say, I didn't like that you said X, Y, Z, and you may say, I always say the wrong thing. It's always the wrong thing. That's your inner child showing up. The person may say, I feel that situation, I think that situation was selfish. So now you're saying I'm selfish. So now I'm selfish. That's your inner child showing up. Can you see that? The person may say, I'm not having a good time with you right now. Oh, so what? You're not interested? That's your inner child showing up. If you were to be operating in a different energy other than the inner child, it would sound like this. I didn't like when you said A, B, C, D, and E. Really, what didn't you like about it? Share with me, because I didn't think that was a problem, but I see it's a problem. So what didn't you like about it? What was the worst part about it? What words mattered there? What did that remind you of? Okay, I see. That's a different energy. You may not like the way a person is taking a thing, but this ain't really about you because they're bringing the problem to you. So can you suspend your own ego, your own need to be seen a certain way, your own fears? Can you do that to hear what this person is actually experiencing so that you can know how to provide a resolve or create one together? You can't even listen. So how are you resolving anything? You can't, because you don't even know what the real problem is. You just heard you did something wrong and you went off the edge over there. And then you come back apologizing. But that's not really even the problem, because the problem now is the after effects. The problem now is the domino effects. The problem now is the way it shifted this person. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in a situation with a person and you felt they did something wrong? They apologized, explained their point of view, and you were like, yeah, I see that, but you still couldn't let it go? That's a real question. Have you ever been in an experience where a person apologized, gave you their point of view, and you were like, oh yeah, I see that. I see that. But still inside your chest, there was a knot? Have you ever experienced that? I'm waiting, because I want to tell you why. The apology is not enough. The apology is not going to reconcile. The apology is not going to reconnect. It's the beginning of it. Depending on how you apologize and what space you apologize from. Now you need to deal with the way. Let me tell you something. Let's think about this. Let's say you said something Monday, and the person been trying to process it, and now it's Friday. They tell you about it Friday. You got all the times they thought about it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and how you're receiving it to understand. It's not just the moment on Friday when they brought it up, because that thing been shifting them since Monday. It would behoove you, if you want closeness and you want to reconnect, to find out what shifts were happening, so that you know where to apply the balm. You want to heal a situation, but you don't want to flush it out because it's too painful. You're dealing with too much guilt. You're dealing with too much shame or too much impatience because you think the person should just get over it because they should know your heart and all that. I'm sorry, it often doesn't go that way, and the proof is in the pudding. Look at your life. Look in your relationships. Look at your connections and conflict. You could see the truth in this. I'm not trying to spoon feed you nothing, not convince you of anything. You can see it, and you can see it within your own self as well. So what happens is, because most people don't understand this, the person apologized, you see their point of view, you still deal with this thing in your chest, you try to ignore it, you try to distract. Eventually you renormalize and it goes into suppression, right? It goes inactive. You think you're over it. But then the person does the same thing again or something like it, or you think they did something like it, or you think they're about to do something like it. It has now become a trigger. Now you got anxiety. Now you're re-experiencing the old thing again, and all the stuff of the old thing is coming up with the new thing, and then you start talking about it, and then the person have the nerve to be like, I said I was sorry, you still bringing it up, you're throwing this in my face. When people talk like that, it tells me that they have not thought deeply enough about this to actually change the situation. And that's why I teach, because I want to take you deeper. I want you to go deeper inside of yourself so that you can connect more deeply with others and stop the abrasive behavior, right? The repelling behavior, the behavior that stops you from being close. Tomorrow, I have a community chat by Zoom, and we're going to talk about devotion. We talked about honor last month. This month is going to be about devotion. If you have a desire to see your relationships shift, if you have the desire to see your relationships become closer, more intimate, more inspiring, then join us tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll stop right there. Are y'all good? And I started this talk off by saying, you may think because I have this understanding and I can move in this understanding that it always goes well for me. It does not. It takes two people to see like this, right? So I could be talking to my neighbor and communicating very clearly, very authentically, very openly. And if my neighbor is unable to come out of themselves to see, even though I see outside of myself, it still might not go well. So there's no guarantee, right? But the guarantee that I do give you is communicating more authentically, more clearly, more deeply. Will keep your throat unlocked. Will keep your heart softened. It will keep you available. So when you meet people who can do it, you're ready. As opposed to struggling. So the benefit of becoming more well-rounded communication-wise and at a deeper depth is for you and your experience, right? It's not going to stop you from being frustrated when you communicate with other people. It's not going to cause them to take everything you say in and magically just become one with you, no. But that's why I think it's important to listen to how people talk about their problems. I think it's important to listen to how people talk about the people around them. It's important to listen to how they interpret situations, because all of that will let you know whether or not they're able to see more deeply as you desire. And then when you talk to them, do they defend and push you off and say, no, it's not like that? Or do they go, oh, I never thought about it like that. Tell me, what you saying about such and such, right? Because they might not know, but the question is, are they open to it? Do they have the ability to self-reflect? Do they have the ability to become aware of the subtleties of communication? Do they have a desire? You know, some people don't have a desire for all of this. They think it's too much. It don't take all of that. Those same people are experiencing lacks of closeness and wondering what the issue is. Right? There's some people that might find this to be tedious. Why does it have to take all that? As soon as someone wonders why does it take all that, you already know that it's not aligned. Because they're not coming from an energy of help me understand how this helps you. Help me understand how this is beneficial to me. That's not the energy. It don't take all that means you doing too much. And that lets you know that you're not in alignment, right? So becoming a better communicator, becoming more deeply plugged into others, right, will mean that you also have to look at these things to make sure that you're alignment. Okay? Not everybody can handle a good communicator, even though they may think it. Are they open? Are they willing? That's the question. And that's it. I'm done. So I want y'all to join me tomorrow. Hey, Day, how you doing? I want y'all to join me tomorrow. I have a community chat. It's free. It's just where we get together on Zoom. The topic is devotion and relationships. And I want to see y'all there. So if you want the link, send me an inbox with your email, and I'm going to send it to you. Check your spam folder, because sometimes my emails from my business account will go in your spam folder. Okay? I'm ready to. We're ready to enhance ourselves, right? How can we enhance ourselves? We certainly can see more deeply into the self, so we can see more deeply into others. Ashe. So that's it for the day. This video I'm putting on YouTube for sure, as long as I don't experience any problems downloading it. And if you need one-on-one coaching, you can find me on my website at veronicamarie.com. I also have some ebooks there to help you. You can catch me on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram. I try to do different things on different social media channels because it's a different aspect of me. On Lemonade, I share more of my daily life and personal experiences and items that I use. On YouTube, I have more of these kind of teachings. Here, I explore the sensual intellectual. On Instagram, there's the sensual intellectual along with my spiritual pursuits. So all of that is there. And I want y'all to know that I appreciate you. I do. You're part of a vision that started long ago. And being here together is showing me that visions really do come true. They do. So keep the faith, and we'll talk soon.